welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about The Outsider by Stephen King. So if you're interested in seeing my summary and review, then go ahead and keep watching. Let's start with the plot summary. Basically, this starts off in a small town called Flint City, and right away this really horrible crime happens involving the absolute brutal death of a little boy. The prime suspect in this case is a man called Terry Maitland, and he's not just any member of the community. He coaches baseball, and he's basically universally adored, referred to as Coach T. So when a bunch of evidence starts pointing to him, people get really upset, they get really confused, and they mostly get really angry, and they try to prosecute as hard as they possibly can because they feel so betrayed. While there is all of this evidence pointing to him, including eyewitness accounts and DNA, he also has an airtight alibi that also includes eyewitness accounts, video footage, and DNA of him being at another place. So it becomes this really intriguing mystery of how a man can be in two places at once, which obviously isn't true. So really it brings up the question of whether Terry actually committed the crime or how somebody could frame him in such a way. And as the investigations go on, like more and more little bizarre details begin to be uncovered that kind of make it that much more confusing. There's also the community who is just reeling from this, and they address a lot of those emotions as well, including the Peterson family. So that's the family of the little boy who was killed. And after the little boy is killed, his mom basically immediately has a heart attack and dies, and this leaves his brother and his dad alone. And the brother gets really angry, and when the day comes for Terry's trial, the Peterson boy shows up with a firearm and kills Terry Maitland. They kill the prime suspect like a third of the way through the book. I don't remember, but it was pretty early on. And even on his deathbed, Terry Maitland insists that he didn't do it. It was a real moment. This sort of begins the real investigation, or the kind of part two of the true investigation, where PI Holly Gibney is hired by Terry's wife to find out the truth. And she is digging. They were in Ohio with Terry's dad, so she goes to Ohio and she discovers a really similar crime that happened in Ohio. And it was kind of the same circumstance where this guy basically had to have been in two places at once, and he was also just in general a really unlikely suspect. And I believe he ended up taking his own life. I forget exactly how that resolved, but Holly kind of puts two and two together and starts digging. She then flies to Flint City and shares her discoveries and her theory, even though she knows it is laughably far-fetched, which it is. But she shares her theory, which is that some sort of monster boogeyman type creature committed these crimes. And then she kind of teams up with the Flint City crew, and they begin investigating together. And basically at this point it almost turns into monster hunting. This is where you kind of lost me. So it's kind of a good ending in the sense that it's gratifying-ish. No, it's not even gratifying. Let's go right into the review because I have a lot of thoughts on this and I don't really want to hold them in any longer. It was scary, definitely disturbing. I don't even know that that's a positive. I felt that some of the descriptions of the crimes were a little bit too graphic, and I understand that that's sort of the nature of the beast, that you want to make it really vivid and you want to kind of evoke the same emotions that some of the people in the community were feeling. So I get why it was described graphically, but it was really graphic, which was kind of hard for me to handle. And it was scary, but not necessarily suspenseful like The Institute was. So it didn't really have that building, because it starts off as kind of more of a mystery, and then it just turns into a little bit of a monster book, a monster story. I don't really know. I think those genres didn't meld well together for this, and I think the most compelling part of the book was the mystery surrounding the circumstances of the crime with Terry. I was so interested in how that would get wrapped up, and the fact is it didn't really get wrapped up. It just defaulted to,
oh, a monster did it. Oh, it was paranormal. It was the supernatural.
Which I understand, it's Stephen King and that's not unexpected, but I think if you set up this beautiful, really intriguing mystery and then you don't really solve it in a way that feels gratifying, valid, I don't know, it just didn't get solved really. It was just, oh, it's a monster. Okay. And I thought that it was so beautifully set up. So I really enjoyed that first half of the book. But unfortunately, the second half of the book really started to slip and ultimately just ended in a place that felt a little bit clumsy. I felt like it had a really good beginning and should have had a significantly better ending. So it was kind of a bummer. It was interesting to see how the investigation was pieced together involving Terry, but then it didn't really ultimately go anywhere that satisfied my mystery solving need, my mystery solving requirements. So it's not a good book if you're interested in mystery books. There were a couple themes that I thought were really well done. I enjoyed that he kind of touched on firearm violence, and I think that that's a really important topic, and he didn't, hammer it home. He just touched on it in a really realistic and believable way. That's definitely a relevant topic to bring up, and I like the way he did it. I also think that probably one of the biggest themes of this book, at least of the first half for sure, is public judgment. The thing about the public judgment is that it doesn't matter even if you're convicted of the crime. In the eyes of the public, being accused is often enough to really tarnish your reputation or to make you guilty in the eyes of your community. And I think that that was really well addressed with Terry Maitland. I think that that was a really good example of how it doesn't even take you being found guilty, and to be honest, once that gets out that you're a suspect, you're not really innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent, at least in the eyes of the public and in the eyes of your community. And I thought that was really interesting, and some of that maybe is just human nature, I don't know, but I like the way that he brought that up and addressed that in this book because I thought it was really interesting. I'm just gonna complain about the ending because I don't think that it suited this story well to build this beautiful, beautiful mystery and then to kind of just say in the end, oh, it's all a monster. It was just a monster. It didn't feel legitimate. It didn't feel like the ending that we earned or deserved. So I didn't love it. Some people really love this book though, and that's okay. I just don't think it was for me. I didn't enjoy the fact that it went from being a mystery to being like a monster book. That didn't sit well with me. If you were a person that liked it, I'd actually be really interested to hear what you liked about this book. There were definitely good parts. I did read The Institute, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago, 5 months ago. I don't remember when I read that, but I did read The Institute and I found that a much preferable read to this book. And so maybe they just speak to different preferences. So yeah, I didn't love it. I probably wouldn't even recommend it. I would give it maybe 2.5 stars. It was great in the first half and really bad in the second half. I struggled to finish it, so I didn't enjoy it, but if you did, let me know what you liked about it. And if you're like me and you didn't enjoy it, also let me know what you didn't like about it. But I think that's all for this, so I'm going to read something happier now. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later.